as we inspire by sharing real people's stories and their exhilarating journeys. We all learn by sharing our gifts and talents through the power of talking with one guest at a time. Get cozy, get your favorite nighttime drink, and let's get ready to be wowed with inspiration.
Hola, mi gente. Happy Monday. So this is Luz, and I am so excited to welcome you this Monday and have another hour of Inspiration Hour with Luz. And while we welcome our guest pretty soon, I want to tell you a little bit about her. Her name is Evita. She's a writer, a blogger, and a first-time author. She began writing short stories and poems when she was in junior high school. And she's the founder of Curly Vita. Crowns come in all colors, a lifestyle blog, which you will find a celebration of life, motherhood, curly hair, diversity, beauty, and more. And in 2018, she published her first children's book, The Girl with the Magic Curls, which was inspired by the Dove Love Your Curls campaign commercial and her own curly haired daughter, Tatiana, whose today is her birthday. So we want to wish her a very blessed birthday. And we're just so excited on this special day that we have Evita with us. Before she comes on, just wanted to share a little bit more about her book, The Girl with the Magic Curl, that is also available in Spanish and is titled La Niña con los Rizos Mágicos. The premise of the book is to encourage self-acceptance and self-love among little girls and women with curls. So without further ado, let's welcome Evita. Hi, Evita.
Hi, Luz. How are you? Can you hear me
Good.
okay?
Yes, I can. And I'm so happy you're here with us. You're going to share space and you're going to share with us your journey of how you became a writer and how this all started, especially today on Tatiana's birthday,
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Yeah, today is her birthday. She's 9. So
9.
her last
Wow.
year of the single digits.
I'm going to tell you, it goes fast, right?
Yes. Oh, it does. Too fast.
When she hits the double digits, you know what I mean even more. You'll be like, oh my God. Well, listen, I'm really honored to have you. I know when you and I have had similar journeys when we became writers, like getting our book out there, sharing the story. But before we even got to all that, we were both women who wanted to do more with life. We wanted to just, delve into creativity. And I want to know, how was it for you? How was it when you said, I'm going to write a book? When did that moment happen? Because I'm sure this was long in progress in your mind and in your heart before you put it into action.
Yes. Wow. Since I could remember, like when I started writing initially, I started writing when I was in junior high school, and my first love was writing poetry. I also wrote like a few short stories here and there. Didn't quite finish them just yet, but at least I had started the process when I was in junior high. And in terms of the idea of me like seriously becoming a published author, I had thought about that in like 2013, 2014 when I was working full time in higher ed. Um, you know, Around that time, my daughter was about like 1 year old, and she was like turning 2 in 2014. So I was like seriously thinking about it because taking her to Barnes and Noble, I'm a bibliophile myself, my husband as well. We love books. My daughter, we love reading. So like that's something that we always instilled in her, going to the library, going to Barnes and Noble. And I really just seriously thought about it around that time. It wasn't until like 2014 that I was like, I have some ideas and I have some sources of inspiration. And I really think I could do this. I really think I could take on this journey and publish a book, publish a topic out there that, a lot of women and children, especially young girls, can relate to. And that's really what started my journey 2014 on like really taking it seriously and, just going with my passion and researching like crazy. I learned so much at that point, but I will say that I'm still learning. The journey continues. The publishing world is very vast. Like there's so much out there now.
Yeah,
And
there's
there's new
so
things
much
happening. Yeah,
every day. There's so many panels, so many discussion, new ways
absolutely.
that everyone is becoming more involved and aware. I feel like that's something new in a
Yes.
way, where we're taking our writing to advocate for our communities. And I say we because it's so many people, even people that haven't written a book yet, I still call them a writer because
Yes.
they're there in the trenches, like advocating for books by us, for us, and
Absolutely.
sharing our stories. And I wanted to also get a little more insight because you are in higher ed, right? Before you wrote your book, you were already like in the educational space and you were working at exactly where in the education sector, because you got your master's degree from Fordham and you were already in this space where it's safe to say not only were you surrounded by books, but you were like in the nosebleeds hearing it all, like things of
Absolutely.
interest in our culture and what was coming down the pipeline, if you may.
Sure. Yes. So I started my higher ed. I have at least over 10 years of higher ed experience. And in terms of higher ed, I had worked for between 4 and 5 colleges and universities, primarily in Washington, D.C., New Jersey, and Pennsylvania, and New York City. So my higher ed background, I was normally used to working with college students, students who were pursuing their bachelor's, PhD, and master's degree. So I was inundated with, reading dissertations, reading master's theses, um, so that sort of thing, communicating with higher ed at one point, communicating with the alumni. So at that point, I was mostly in the, admin alumni relations department. So I wasn't really exposed to the publishing side of it. It would have been cool to be amongst, seeing the academic books, published and everything. But I was mostly in like the departments that were asking alumni for money and things like that. Um, but, with that, I think what really also inspired me was working with PhD students because a lot of them were actually
Yeah.
getting tenure positions and publishing books. So I was like, wow, okay, if you guys are doing it, I know I can do it. It was
Yeah,
kind of like that sort of thing.
that's why I was asking, because in the role that you were in or you're still currently in, I'm sorry, please correct me if I'm wrong, the fact that
Sure.
you're seeing students like piecing these things together and getting published,
Yes,
that's almost like affirming, saying like, hey, if they could do it, why not me? Like I'm reading all
absolutely.
these papers, like I'm even correcting some of them, you know?
Absolutely. Yes, yes, yes. Especially when I specifically was working at a organization called the Woodrow Wilson Fellowship
Mm.
Foundation. Um, Wonderful organization. I had a wonderful time there. I got to travel and help support PhD students who needed mentorship, who needed connections with certain individuals in their programs. So we helped connect them. We helped connect each other. We kind of created like a alumni network of sorts. And in helping them, like with their programs, we had to read, their dissertations, and then we would pair them up with another alumni who could, like, help them
Yeah.
along in their program. And working with them also caused me to go back because I had started Fordham, but then when I became pregnant with my daughter, I took a little bit of time off, and then I decided to go back. That was also like part of my inspiration for finally finishing my degree. Um, so it's interesting how you can be around. It's interesting how people can influence you
Yeah.
in a positive way. Like if there was a goal you were working on, and it's okay to stop for a minute and regroup and recollect, and then someone comes along and inspires you to, hey, let me, get back on this and see if I can finish my goal, and even learn some new things that I didn't know before.
And I'm glad you mentioned that because, I think one of the reasons I started the podcast was to inspire people that no matter where you're at, you can still have that life you dream of. It's attainable, it's doable, you know, it's within reach, God put the dream in your heart. We could work and thrive as a community to see you attain that. A lot of people have this misconception, and I'm so glad people are posting about this in social media and becoming more clear. Like, you don't have to be in your 20s to get all your dreams in order. You barely even know yourself in your 20s. And then in your 30s, you're still like not quite there. You're probably like coming a little bit more into your own skin, feeling a little bit more comfortable. But I think there's so many individuals that really amaze me that they're always redefining themselves in their 40s and their 50s, and they're still going after what they want. Like, they're not looking at this like, I had to do this at this age in order to be happy or to be successful.
Absolutely. It makes me think of one of the author groups that I'm a part of on Facebook. We were all cheering on a fellow author and member of the group. He's 55 years old and he just published his first novel.
Oh, God bless. You see, I'm really proud of that. And I was listening to a podcast because as a podcaster, I think one of the greatest things to do is try to spend time researching and listening what's out there. And it was actually this writer who was saying that she graduated with her, I believe, an MFA with creative writing, and then she got a master's, and then she worked in the industry, and she didn't write her book till now is her first book coming out. And I'm not going to say much about it because I'm kind of like putting it into existence as well. Make a connection with her. But one of the things that inspired me from the conversation is like, I had my kids, I decided to go back to school. But she was like the oldest person in the class. And doing her and I think that was beautiful because you know how much life you have experienced? You cannot experience all these desires in your 20s. You barely know what's happening. Not to discredit anyone that had gone through a lot, because there are some individuals that live that. So you know what it was to say it's okay to regroup. And now coming full circle, having your daughter completing your master's and then publishing that book, it just felt so much sweeter. I'm pretty sure.
Yes, absolutely. It just felt like it was right. It was the right, I guess some would say it was divine timing. That's what I like to say. It was the right time at that moment.
That's beautiful. Now, I know you recently had your book translated, and I want to hear some of your thoughts about how was that process like for you, not only as a writer, but as a mom and someone that's always trying to cultivate like a bilingual home. How was that writing your book in English and then having it translated? Because it's not such an easy process as many people might think.
Well, there's a young lady who is phenomenal. She's also an author and she is a life coach. She has her own business. She actually helped me translate it. It was very easy, getting all the files to her of my original book, which is a PDF that I sent her. It was wonderful working with her, very professional, very knowledgeable about, grammar and being able to English grammar and Spanish grammar, of course. Um, it really was, I didn't have any difficulties. I understand that some people, if they're not knowledgeable to the T
Yes.
with grammar,
It
especially in the
affects your
Spanish language
script.
and tenses and everything. Exactly. If you're really not knowledgeable about it, some people do hire. There's larger companies out here that do translations. In German, Italian. It could be quite pricey, for sure. So I reached out to her. Her and I had talked before, and I knew that some of her books that are self-help books and books on meditation and life coaching were also translated. So I just asked her, would she mind helping me with this project? And it was really like wonderful working with her. Very
That's
professional,
great.
very helpful. So we
And it
we
was
definitely,
really important for you to have it in Spanish as well to serve
yes,
the community.
it
I know
it,
that's
it
one
very much
thing.
so was. Yes, yes, absolutely. It was also something that a lot of people who support me were telling me, you have to have this in Spanish. So it was definitely something that I knew I had to do, for sure.
You know,
There was
that's
no.
a good thing, when you have people that love your work so much, they'll be making these beautiful demands
Yes.
like if you don't have a job, children, I need you to do this ASAP.
Yeah. They'll be making the suggestions for you, definitely.
No, but I love it. I really love it because I've learned a lot from hearing people what they want to read, and I
Yeah.
love that. I think we've gotten to a place in life that people are not only more vocal, but once they grab something they love, and your book is like that they're going to advocate for it and they want to see an expansion of the story. So
Mhm.
I wanted to know, what was the experience reading your book in a beauty parlor? Because I know you got to do a read aloud there. And I thought, how cute is that? You read Girls with the Magic Curls. And where did you read it at? And here in Washington Heights, I believe.
I read it at the Sisters Uptown bookstore. Um, I also read through Strive Higher. Strive Higher was one of my beginning
Yeah.
readings. That was in the summer of, wow, it seems so long ago, I think because of the pandemic. um, that was in 2019, the summer of 2019. Um, I had gone to different book festivals. It was just, that year was just like, it was a lot. It seemed like I had at least two events almost every month or every other month. Like, it was very busy. My first event was in Montclair, New Jersey. There was like a holiday pop up. It was like right around Christmas time, like the best time for people to, showcase their new books and get their books out there. So I had did that. Then I also did Barnes and Nobles at Union Square, which was a lot of fun. I did a read aloud first, and then, people got to come up and I signed, autographed, and took pictures. And I had a lot of kids just sit at the table and color the coloring pages, which was nice. And my daughter got to meet some other children around her age, so that was really nice. And Sisters Uptown was great because there was like a lot of kids there that
Yeah.
were, and we had like goodie bags, and it was just a really, overall really good feeling. It's always good to be within the community. It's always good to get to know other parents and children and hear their stories and see how they see themselves in the girl with the magical curls.
How was
So
it for
that's,
your daughter, by the way, seeing you in this greatness, signing books, doing read alouds, her joining you to be in support of you, and I'm sure your husband as well. How did it
oh yeah.
how did it like what did it inspire in her, like the conversations at home and everything that took place?
I believe the more I brought her with me to various events, and she got to sit with me at the table and see me signing books and just engaging with people. It made her want to pursue something. I think I was telling you within our private conversation that she has really gotten into reading graphic novels for her age. She's gotten into illustrating and creating her own. And, I believe that me doing, this and writing and showing her that side of me has caused her to, hey, I want to really get into this and I want to create my own books. So I'm really proud of her for tapping into her creative energies and making it happen for her. That's definitely something that I'm supporting her on, and she's really excited for me. Like, she started third grade this year, so she told her teacher. Her teacher was asking, "Oh, what do your parents do?" And she was like, "Oh, my mom's an author." So when she gets the chance to like meet somebody, she's like, "My mom's an author, and the name of her book is The Girl with Magical Curls, and it's about me, and I'm the main character. If you want a copy, we have copies at home." Like, so she's kind of like my little,
Your little
selling point. So
salesperson.
yeah. And she said,
It's
and all her
beautiful.
friends are like, "I want a copy of the book." When they see her with the T-shirt, they're like, "Oh, I want a T-shirt too," or things like that. So it's really cute.
No, I love it. I love it. My daughter, and I remember us sharing that in a private conversation. My daughter Chloe, last year in the pandemic, she wrote and illustrated her first book. It's called
Yes,
A
that's
Cheesy
awesome.
Story, and I animated it and actually showed it
Excellent.
to my producer Jerry, who loved it, and he just thought it was so cute as well. But I have to admit, when I saw her draft, me and my husband, like, we just embraced each other. We loved it. We just, we just, we just had this moment, like, oh my God, like,
Yeah. Hmm.
look what you did really started in this family. Like, our
Absolutely.
conversations are totally different than what they were when we first. Like, it's nothing that we could have imagined. I could just imagine in your house, my love. Like, I could just imagine what beautiful spirit and energy it has created.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. And my
So,
husband is, as much as he can, he's at all the events too, supporting me on and, engaging with customers and parents and families as well.
yeah, my husband is as well. I think I try to be a little easy, like bringing the whole family, because
Right.
and I think the thing about the pandemic, doing things virtual, it has helped me so much because all the kids have different things. And I
Yes.
know I
Different
kind of like
schedules.
outnumber you because I have 3 kids.
Yeah.
So they all have different interests. So that's what made it really hard. But they were
Yeah.
all supportive, I'm just so grateful for that. I want to ask a couple more questions about what's going to be next for you. I know you have the t-shirts that look beautiful. You
Thank
just
you.
had the Girls with the Magic Curl into Spanish for the community. Is there anything that you're working on that you will love to share?
I just created a new store through Zazzle. That's where
Mm.
my t-shirts and notebooks you can purchase. I have that in my Instagram, but I'll try to share the links more for Zazzle. But I do have that store that I open. I'm working on. I have 2 books that I'm working on. The one is going to be a young adult book.
Okay.
So for the, I would say like 5th grade, 6th grade level, reading level, it'll be a mix of like sci-fi fantasy. And I am working on completing the final edits for The Girl with the Magical Curls Part 2. So I have those 2 things lined up. And, I'm also thinking about writing some more poetry to go along with like a poetry story, perhaps like a short story of some sorts. So
Mm-hmm.
that's also an idea.
Oh, wow. So you've been very busy. I love this. And I kind of want to just pry a little bit more, if you don't mind. So
Sure.
any new adventure with the girl with the magical curls on part 2 that you could share?
Sure. So the theme is going to take place in the summertime. So there is kind of going to be a little bit of a theme to it compared to the first book. And for the second book, I want people to get to see Tatiana's superhero type of traits. So the premise of her character will show more of her talents and more of her helping other people and animals in distress. So it's less about, like, the first book is more of, here's an introduction to the character, here's the scenario that's going on, here's the conflict, here's what happens, and here's how she resolved it. For the second book, I want that more to be like, okay, Tatiana is a superhero now. She's still a regular girl, but she's also a superhero, and she's out here helping people and being of service to all mankind. Like, that's the premise of the second book.
Oh, that's beautiful and such a needed message. It might inspire girls to do more in their communities, and not only the community at large, but be an example and role model. So
Absolutely.
wanted to um, before we come to a close, ask one more question about the book.
Sure.
But it's mostly, now that you've completed the book, you've had that moment that you're like, I did this no matter what was going on in my life. I inspired my family. I got the goal done. I got the degree. I'm still working on my craft. What will you say to someone that wants to follow in your footsteps? And what is something that you could give them as advice after completing and going through this journey? Because as you know, this is not easy. And a lot of people think, sometimes they're almost kind of lackadaisical, saying oh, I think I want to do this. But once they're in the weeds doing it, they're like, what was I getting myself into? What was I thinking? Because you have the vision of a story in your heart, or or an idea. And now it's not just a book. It's not just a t-shirt. It's a business. It's a mission. It's an empowering mission for girls. So what advice would you give? And it could be about the book and how it started.
Yes. I'm going to take a page out of, when I first started the idea in 2014, and I was inspired by my daughter and the Dove Love Your Curls campaign commercial. That watching that commercial, actually, a bunch of light bulbs went up in my head, first off. And I was like, wow, this is a really beautiful commercial for little girls with curly hair from all walks of life. And, this is like a movement. At the time, the curly hair community or movement was, still pretty new and still pretty fresh. So, I myself, I had transitioned in 2011. So it was kind of still new to me. I was getting to the point where I wasn't straightening my hair. I wasn't putting any heat on it. I was just wearing it curly. And when I saw the commercial, I was like, wow, this is really cute. Are there any books, children's books, with, a little girl with curly hair who's a superhero, or she's talking about how she's proud of her hair? And I didn't see anything going to Barnes and Noble or either the library. So I was like, why don't I be the person to create this? And I just started writing. Just put my laptop up, Word, and just started typing. I know some people start with, usually when I start a new idea, I usually like to write it in a notebook. But this time I just started typing it. And the words I just let everything flow. I will say that I was getting into the habit of, okay, this doesn't sound right. Let me take this out. And one day my husband was looking at me and he's like, don't correct yourself while you're writing it. Just write it. And I was like, okay. He was like, all like the beautiful short stories you wrote when you were he said you weren't like, you were just like writing it. You weren't like crossing it out. Like, who cares? Like, you're going to edit it later. So I was like, okay.
That's true.
So,
My husband says the same, by the way. And it's like one of the best piece of advice I could give anyone. Just write it.
Yes, that's what I would say. Like, don't get too much into, okay, this sounds silly. Let me take this out. Oh no. Whatever it is that you feel at that moment, write it and just let it flow. Don't critique yourself as you're writing the story. Just let it flow. I would also say that don't be discouraged if there's a goal that you thought you would reach, but you don't at that particular moment. Sometimes you have to take a step back, take a deep breath, regroup, and try something else. There were many different instances where I had a marketing idea, or another author told me about something that worked for them, and I tried it, and it may not have worked as well for me. Don't get discouraged by that. You're going to get discouraged first, but then take a deep breath and just say, maybe that wasn't for me, but maybe this is another way. Let me look at some other ways to do X, Y, and Z. And something's going to stick. Something's going to work. You learn trial by error. And that's basically, what I did. I've talked to other authors and tried to encourage them and say, okay, that didn't work. Okay, let's try this over here. Okay, well, your book is about, teaching children positive self-esteem about themselves. Oh, well, have you talked to a few school psychologists from different schools in your district? Maybe you can write them a letter about your book. It's kind of like you constantly have to think outside the box when it comes to your book. Definitely.
Yeah.
You have to think about, okay, who's the audience for my book? Okay, there's not just one audience. There could be several audiences. And what are some topics that can come out of it? Like, write them down and then try to reach out to people who you think could benefit, or different populations of kids from a school or from an after school program, or from the YMCA, whichever. That's always something that I've tried to tell other authors, and I try to still tell myself. I try to live by that. So
no, that's the best advice, and thank you so much for sharing that. And just to piggyback on what you were saying, like an example is, for me, someone read the Pequeña Maria book, one of the books, and they told me, have you taken this to like one of these environmental organizations? The Maria book talks nothing about the environment. But just piggyback on what you said about thinking outside the box, it does show a lot of the greenery in the Caribbean.
Yes.
So it is hitting on the environment, but I would have not known
you would
that.
not have thought about that. Yeah.
Because thought about it.
Book, you didn't initially want to focus, like that wasn't your intention.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's amazing how.
But it hits many areas that people wouldn't think about as a creator. Because I think I had a mentor who said it best. You're busy creating. You're not going to be always doing the marketing, the this, the that, you need other people. So I think for a lot of people, it's hard to talk about their projects, but you have to build community, talk about it, and you're always selling yourself. It's not just about the product. So if you have the book, you have to share it, because that's how you'll learn more about the business.
Absolutely.
At least I know I learned that by trial and error, like you said. So, wow. And I know you have too, because now you have journals, right? Notebooks.
I do have a little notebook. Yes, it's from one of the. It's actually from page 2 of the book. There's a illustration of her hair like going up, and then she's
I've
blowing
seen it.
bubbles and
Rebels,
blowing.
yeah, and it's
Yeah,
beautiful.
yeah. My daughter actually picked that. I said to her, "Oh, I want to create little notebooks," and I said to her, "Which do you think is the best picture out of the book, like from these five?" And she actually chose that one. So I said, "Okay,
And I love
let's
that
go with
image,
this."
and it's like ingrained in my head. Had like when you first wrote that book, did you even think about that?
I didn't. I didn't think about notebooks or T-shirts. I did think about like a plush toy,
Yeah.
but it never. I decided to just stick with the T-shirt, a notebook. In the future, there'll be a couple other ideas, but the plush toy was kind of the first thing that I had thought of. I said, "Oh, maybe I'll make a plush toy," but maybe in the future.
But it was really you just doing trial and error until you start setting things that stick.
Absolutely.
And it was
Yes.
beautifully done. And I have to share that. So I want to move on to this game called Finish the Sentence because we want to get to know you and what makes you tick and, you know, things you might think of. So I'm just going to say this sentence and you tell me what's the first thing that pops in your head. Okay. My dream vacation is.
My dream vacation, so many places. But we love Canada, so we would love to go back to Montreal or Quebec or Nova Scotia and go for a boat ride and go fishing.
Oh, that sounds beautiful. There's this area in Canada that I'm really curious about. I don't remember the name. I don't think I could even say the name very well, but it's like this really famous like lake or a river, and there's like a hotel there that it's known to look like a mirror, like
Oh,
it reflects off of it. It was beautiful. It was
nice.
on this like Netflix show for traveling. I was like always obsessed with it after that. But
Okay.
so I gave you a few hints. I wouldn't tell you stay there because let's face it, I hear that place sells out. But
Oh, okay.
it was
Wow.
it, but I'm sure there's neighboring places that is just as beautiful.
I have to
Okay.
keep an eye out on that for that one.
Yeah. I can't live without. What's that one thing you can't live without?
My family and love.
Beautiful. Today, I can't live without my husband. I'll just say that. I'll put it there. He's been my everything.
Oh, that's
Um,
beautiful.
my favorite food is,
Salmon.
oh, I've been like craving cream of tomato soup. So to me,
Oh,
but
that's
that's
one of
not
my
my
favorites
favorite.
too.
But that's not my favorite food. I don't know why that's what I have. That is not. I am like typical Dominican. Talk to me
Yeah.
about mofongo or tostones.
Yeah.
Like I'm
Hmm.
craving that. Okay, my biggest inspiration is
My daughter.
yes. I can see that. Okay, people describe me as
Thoughtful, uh, serendipitous, optimistic, mysterious.
ooh, I like that one. My word for you is confident. Since I met you and we both started this journey almost around the same time. So
Hmm.
that's how we met. And you've always were just so confident. Like there was nothing shaking. You knew exactly what you wanted to do, how to go about it. You were amazing at marketing. I was always so
Oh,
wowed
thank
by
you.
you. So I am just so happy to call you friend and a colleague in this space. And
Thank
I
you.
know
Likewise.
that I can't wait to purchase your new books. And
Thank you.
I think it's so needed. But most importantly, I just can't wait to see what Tatiana is going to do because she has such an inspirational mother that is encouraging her to write as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That means so much. And the same to you. You also exuberate confidence and just inspiration, and you're just doing it. You're not. thinking about it, you're just putting it out there, and you're inspiring people with your writing as well. So I really appreciate it, and I really appreciate you having this platform, and you trying to be of support to other authors and other colleagues. So I really, I'm glad to call you a friend and a colleague for sure.
Oh, thank you so much. I believe that we could do this together. We really can.
Absolutely.
So please share where we could find you before we close so people know where to look for you, how to get in contact with you, and how to support you.
Thank you. You can support me on Instagram. My Instagram name is I am Evita Giron. I also have a author page, author Evita Giron on Facebook. So if you type in author Giron, my page will come up. You can follow me. I also have a blog called curlyvita.com. And I have a Twitter, also Evita Giron, but I'm not as active on Twitter. I'm mostly active on Instagram or my Facebook page. That's where I post all of my latest news about myself. In my blog, if you want to see previous articles that I've written, I'm also a freelancer and a blogger. You can go to my portfolio on curlyvita.com, and you can see some of the past articles and organizations that I've worked with and talked about hair and beauty on my portfolio. So.
Oh, that's beautiful. So thank you so much for joining us, and thank you everyone for listening. You guys have a great night, okay? And keep the inspiration alive. Good night.
Thank you. Have a good night. Thank you, everyone.
That brings us to the end of our Inspiration Hour with Luz, and I hope you're feeling unstoppable. If you enjoy our show, please follow me on Instagram or Facebook at Luz Mac Official, or check out my website at www.luzmac.com. Review, like, and heart us. And don't forget to spread the inspiration with others. And be sure to come back next week as I help you find your inspiration in the little things, one talk at a time.